It is PSAT week. Good news. And tonight we are going to be covering some PSAT math.
Welcome to GoToWebinar, web events made easy.
We're going to be covering math topics and math topics alone. So some of you may have great questions. Questions toward when to guess, when to omit, what's a good score for the test, national merit, what's the deal with that? Give me some information. All very good questions. I want to point you very directly here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to my web browser here. This is the Method Test Prep homepage. If you go down here to PSAT Week and click the Register Now button, you will get access, free access, to this parent webinar, Simplify the PSAT, SAT, and ACT Process. You can click right there to watch a recording. This webinar answers all those questions. So these aren't going to be things that we're getting to tonight, but hey, don't worry about it. You can just log on and check it out on our site and get all the information you need. All right, so rolling back to the presentation here, like I said, Andrew Peterson, PSAT Week, and we're going to do some math together today. So without further ado, we're going to roll right into the first lesson, and we are going to talk about plugging in numbers. All right. This is the only real lesson we're going to have. From here on out, it's all going to be slides with problems, so we can actually get our hands dirty with some math. But I did want to make sure to take some time to talk about this plugging in numbers strategy. This is the single most important and effective math strategy, topic, rule, whatever you want to call it on this test. This is the thing to know if you're going to go in knowing one thing. All right? The advantages to plugging in numbers is it makes questions your own. So you can take this material, you can take very tough questions, and you can make them simple by plugging in your own values to the question. So we're going to talk about the procedure here. Now, fair warning, guys, as I'm going through this procedure, this is going to seem a little abstract. We're not going to be able to plug these values into actual questions or use this strategy right now. We're going to be practicing this with the next question that comes up, and we're going to be walking through it together. Remember, you get a recording of this. It's going to be sent to you via email. And in that recording, you'll be able to take a look back over the lesson and get comfortable with the topic.
One day.
So, the procedure. The first thing that we want to do is we want to plug in our own numbers to the question. I have this little parenthesis
Muted.
around easy, because why make your life difficult when you can make it easy and plug in easy numbers to our questions? Now, we want to avoid patterns. We want to avoid repetition and the value of 0. We also want to mind restrictions in our problems. If there is a restriction that's apparent in the problem, well, we want to make sure that we understand it and choose accordingly. And we'll actually see a restriction in our first problem here. So after we plug in numbers to our variable values, we're going to solve the question using our plugged-in numbers. This keeps things from being algebraic and abstract and allows us to focus down and find one specific answer to our question. Once we do this and we do solve the question, we're going to plug in values to the answer choices to find a match. All right? So putting this topic and this strategy to use, we're going to check out this first problem together. It says if x represents an odd integer, which of the following, sorry, the F's cut off there, guys, which of the following represents the next odd integer greater than x? Okay, cool. So how do I know this is a plugging in numbers question? I didn't really even cover that in the intro here. But the reason I know it's a plugging in numbers question is because I have variables in my question and I have variables in my answer choices. Big deal to have those variables in the answer choices. This should be clue number 1 and the only real clue you need that you can use plugging in numbers to solve this question. So like I said before, the first step is going to be plug in for my variable. In this case, my variable is x. Now I do see a restriction here in the question. It tells me that x represents an odd integer. Okay, so I'm going to plug in an odd value here. I'm going to plug in a value of 3. All right, 3 is an odd number. Now the question is asking which of the following represents the next odd integer greater than x. Well, I know x is equal to 3, So really the question's asking, which of the following represents the next odd integer greater than 3? Well, last time I checked, the next greatest odd integer than 3 is going to be 5. So this is my magic number. This is what I'm looking for. And I'm going to be using this value of x equals 3 to plug into the question in order to solve. All right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug this value in, and we're going to be working through answer choices A through E right now. So if I plug into A, I'm going to get 3 minus 1. That's equal to 2, not 5, so I can eliminate that. B is going to be 3 plus 1. Well, that's 4, closer, but not what I'm looking for. C is going to be 3 plus 2. Hey, that's 5. Seems pretty exciting. Seems like I might want to choose this. But fair warning, for this strategy and for most of our problems, we want to be very careful and we want to make sure we check all our answer choices. But C is looking pretty good. We go to D and we get 3 plus 3, which is equal to 6. Well, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I go to E here and I get 3 times 2, which is 6, minus 1. Well, that's equal to 5 too. Now, I did this on purpose here because I intentionally created this discrepancy where we have 2 answer choices that are agreeing with our value of 5. If this ever happens, and it's no fault of your own, this is merely coincidence, you're going to need to go back and change your original value. So I am going to go back, I'm going to erase all of this work that we did, and we're going to change our value to 5. That's a nice, simple, odd number. Now remember, we already eliminated A, B, and D. If they weren't true before, they can't be true now. They can't be correct because we're looking for one that always represents this. So with x equal to 5, I know that the next greatest odd integer is going to be 7. 7 is my magic number. This is what I'm looking for. So once again, I'm going to take my value and plug it in. I will find in answer choice C that 5 plus 2, hey, it's equal to 7. Good stuff. Feeling good about C still. If I go down to E and I plug in, 2 times 5 is going to be 10. 10 minus 1 is equal to 9. That's not what I'm looking for, and I can settle here with answer choice C. All right? Hopefully this strategy is making sense. I'm going to challenge you here, so be prepared for this. I do not have any expectation for you solving this correctly, but of course we wouldn't be having an effective math class if we didn't challenge you a little bit here. The next question I'm going to give you, I'm going to have you work on it through your own esteem, but we're going to be talking about it in the end, and I'm going to be opening up a poll for it. So here's the next plugging in numbers problem. If n is a positive integer and 2 to the n plus 2 to the n plus 1 is equal to k, what's 2 to the n plus 2 in terms of k? Now, fair warning here, guys. Remember, we're going to be plugging in for our values. We have k and n. Now, in this case, it's going to be advantageous for us to plug into n first. The reason that we're going to do this is because there's a relationship between n and k. How can I tell? Well, they're in an equation together, meaning that when we plug in for n, we're going to get a value for k, a specific value. Now, since n represents an exponent, we're going to want to plug into this one first so we don't get any crazy values for exponents. Try and keep your n value very simple so the problem is manageable. All right? So I'm going to zip it for once right now. You guys can check out this problem, work through it. In about a minute, I'm going to open up the poll. This is a challenging question. Good luck, but we will understand how to do it afterwards. All right? So go have at it, and I will open up the poll in about a minute. Okay, guys, I'm going to launch the poll here. Now, when I launch the poll, it's going to cover up the question. So hopefully we've finished. Obviously, we're going to be moving with speed here to make sure that we get to enough math. All right, launching the poll. Put in what your answer choice will be to the problem, and we will work to cover it. Okay, it looks like most of us have voted, so I'm going to close the poll now and cover the question. Congratulations, the majority of us got the question correct, but we still have a very large percentage of people with different answer choices, so we're going to move to covering this question. Now, like I recommended, it's going to be a good idea to plug in for n first here. And in the order of simplicity, I mean, that is the recipe for success on these tests, guys, simplicity. Keeping things simple, I'm going to give n a value of 1. Nice and easy. I'm not dealing with big exponents here, or at least bigger than they need to be. Okay? So, okay, n is equal to 1. Now I can solve for a value of k. So I can say that 2 to the 1 plus 2 to the 1 plus 1, 2 to the 2, is equal to k. All right, well, 2 to the 1 is just 2, plus 2 squared is 4, meaning that k is going to have a value of 6. I can put in my 6 up there. All right, cool. So I know what k is, but the question's not over. I'm not looking for a value of k. I'm looking for a value of 2 to the n plus 2 in terms of k. All right. So once again, I need to figure out what 2 to the n plus 2 is, but hey, lucky for us, we have this value of 1 already plugged in for n. So let's pop it in there and see what we get. We're going to get 2 to the 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2 being 3. We're going to find that 2 to the third is equal to 8. This is our magic number. It says, what is 2 to the n plus 2? Well, it's 8. We know this because n is equal to 1. But we need to do this in terms of k, meaning our mission right now is to take this value of k equals 6 and to plug it into our answer choices in order until we find a match. So let's do this. Answer choice A, we're going to have 6 minus 1 divided by 2. Well, that's 5 divided by 2. That's definitely not equal to 8, so okay, don't care about that one. If we check out B here, we are going to have 4 times 6 divided by 3. Well, 4 times 6 is 24. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Hey, good for us. Looks like we have a match. Remember, we don't want to be too hasty. We want to make sure to check our other answer choices. Plugging in for C, 2 times 6 gives us 12. Not what we're looking for. Plugging into D, 12 plus 1, 13. Nope. And E, 36, definitely not. We're looking for answer choice B here. Those of you who selected B, nicely done. This was a challenging problem. And for those of us that didn't, hopefully we understand our steps to solve them now. All right? We're going to move from plugging in numbers right now to some other topics. These are mostly going to be common things that you're likely to see on the test, but also things that, in my experience working with students over the years, have proved to be a little bit challenging, but definitely attainable so far as answering correctly. All right, so the eggs in a certain basket are either white or brown. If the ratio of the number of white eggs to the number of brown eggs is 2/3, each of the following could be the number of eggs in the basket except what? So I will give you guys about a minute to work on this. You can check it out. I'm going to open up a poll in about a minute, and then we will work to cover this question. Okay, about another 15, 20 seconds, guys. Okay, launching the poll. Let's see what we think. Let's put our answers in. All right, nice and quick, guys. Thanks for voting so quickly. Most of us have voted, so I'm going to close down the poll here. As a matter of fact, in this question, and I chose it because I knew this was going to be the case, the majority of people here are disagreeing with the correct answer. So let's understand where this disagreement is rooted and make sure that we're all on the same page here. So the eggs in a certain basket are either white or brown. It says the ratio of the number of white eggs to the number of brown eggs is 2/3. Each of the following could be the number of eggs in the basket except what? This is a classic question from the PSAT where they're testing the difference between ratios and probability. Now these terms are very related to each other. There are slight differences though, and that's what's causing the confusion. So for simplicity's sake, and that's the key to success on this test, guys, simplicity, ratios are expressed as parts over parts, and probability is expressed as parts over a whole. That's the reason that I'm talking about both of these, is because they're actually extremely similar to each other. And even though obviously the word ratio and probability are very different, these questions create a lot of confusion. Now fortunately for us, they will always use the word ratio or probability in the question. So, well, let's take a look at our question. We have this word ratio sticking out right there in the question. So I know that any fraction that I have, hint, hint, 2/3, is in terms of parts over parts. Okay, so what does this mean for us? Well, actually, for those of you, and a little foreshadowing here to our end conclusion, this means we can't use that 3 in the denominator down here as a representation of the whole number of eggs in the basket. We're going to see what we can do instead. So using the language in the question here, we can determine that the ratio of the number of white eggs, I'm going to express that as W. Next word after eggs is 2, meaning divided by. So the ratio of white eggs to the number of brown eggs, I'm going to use B to represent that, is, meaning equals, 2/3. So here I'm able to see that the ratio of white to brown is 2/3, mathematically in an equation. So everybody kind of pretend right now, sitting at our computers, that we have this little basket in front of us. Easter has come early, so we have some eggs, unpainted as of right now, but white and brown nonetheless. So if I take 2 white eggs and put them in the basket, in order to keep my ratio, I need to take 3 brown eggs and put them in the basket as well. What this means is that we currently have 5 eggs in the basket, 2 of which are white, 3 of which are brown. So this 5 is actually going to be representing our whole number. And think about this. I mean, if we did it again, if I added another 2 white and another 3 brown, we'd have 10 eggs. If I did it again, we'd have 15 and 20 and 25, so on and so forth. I think you can see this pattern emerging, meaning that, well, we're looking for numbers in this case that have 5 as a factor. The only answer choice that does not have 5 as a factor is answer choice B. So congratulations to those of you that selected B in this case. 12 is not an acceptable number of eggs in the basket. Now, for those of you that chose A, it's a logical answer choice, under the assumption we're dealing with probability here. Now, obviously, if it was probability, it'd be a little bit easier to tell what the whole number is, but here's a nice little trick for you guys. In a ratio question, when we're dealing with parts over parts, if there are only 2 items in a basket, eggs in a basket, 2 towels in a closet, you can actually add the numbers, in this case 2 and 3 together, numerator and denominator, to get your value of 5. And that's what we want to do here. Adding 2 and 3, considering we're only dealing with white and brown eggs, we get that whole number of 5. Nice, easy way to go through it. Last thing about this question, guys, answer choices C, D, and E, you probably noticed here, diabolically so, have both 3 and 5 as a factor. And that's why so many of us were inclined to choose answer choice A, because the question here sort of facilitated us to go in the wrong direction. So this is great because now you guys are all aware of how to do this problem. And if you get something like this, and I hope you do, you will succeed where others are challenged and probably will fail. Cool, good stuff, ratios and probability. Moving on to our next problem, which is a sequence question. Now I'm going to let you guys have at this in just a second, but I do want to talk about sequence questions very quickly. So sequence questions, similar to what we just covered with ratios and probability, will have the word sequence in the question. Good news for us, this is a nice little trigger word to be able to work through our steps that we need to use to solve the problem. In sequence questions, the main challenge of the question is going to be forming the sequence appropriately. Generally speaking, unless you're dealing with very difficult questions, and this question certainly is not easy, although we're going to be challenged with a little bit of a more difficult one in a couple minutes. We want to make sure we're forming the sequence appropriately. We need to pay attention to our language and make sure that we're working in the right way because, like I said, the main challenge is in forming the sequence in the right fashion. All right? So that said, I will leave you guys to this problem, take about a minute, and I will open up a poll. Okay, whether or not we're done, I'm going to open up the poll just so we can move through this. Here we go. Let's see what we got, guys. All right, looks like most of us have weighed in. Thank you. Now, fortunately, I can report that we have a pretty good turnout for the correct answer. Over 50% of the people are choosing the correct answer here, which is good because it sounds like we're comfortable. We're still going to cover this anyways. But it's going to be a good challenge that I'm going to give you for the next question. So I'm excited for those of you that got this question right to really apply yourselves for the next question once we cover this. Okay, so to this question, the first term of the sequence of numbers is 1. Hey, nice. I like getting free information. It says if each term after the first is the product of -2 and the preceding term, what is the 6th term of the sequence? All right, I have my guidance here. I know that I'm looking for the 6th term. So 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, end of the day, guys, this is what we need to get. That blank that I circled right there. So like I said before, sequence question, we need to pay attention to the language. We need to know how to form this sequence appropriately. It says each term after the first is the product, meaning multiplication, of -2 and the preceding term. So for term number 2 right here, I just need to multiply -2 times its preceding term, which in this case is 1. So -2 times 1 is going to give me a value of -2 for my second number. All right, great. Moving on my process, third number here. Once again, product of -2 and the preceding term. So in this case, I'm multiplying -2 by my preceding term, which is also -2, giving me a value of +4. All right, moving to the next one, -2 times 4 gives me a value of -8. -2 times -8 gives me a value of +16. And -2 times 16 gives me a value of -32. Answer choice E is correct. Congratulations to those of us that got it. And for those of us that don't, hopefully we can see a good way to work through this problem to solve it. Because we're going to be a little bit more challenged here with a little bit of a harder question. So moving on. I will say nothing. Good luck. There is no multiple choice answer key here. So I will not be opening a poll, but determine the answer on your own terms. You may need a calculator for this, heads up, if we have it next to us or we need to grab it. Go quickly, determine your answer, and I'll jump back on in about 45 seconds to a minute, and we'll talk about the question. Okay, about 15 more seconds, guys, and I'm going to jump in. All right, so first of all, aside from the fact that I've titled this slide sequences, how do I know this is a sequence question? Well, just like we did in the previous question, we recognize that the word is sitting there all nice and pretty for us to understand our strategy moving forward. Now, this sequence here is involving the term A, meaning that we have to deal with this variable as we're moving through it. Now, for some of us, this may have made us a little more uncomfortable, but remember, nothing has changed. Our strategy is still exactly the same. In this case, rather than multiplying the preceding term by -2, which is what we just did, we're multiplying it by 3. Okay, I think we can do this, and we've actually been given some additional information here, not just one term, but 2 of them. We have A and we have 3A. Now, in this case, I'm going to be looking for 3 more terms. Now, how do I know that? Well, the rest of the question says the sum of the first 5 terms is 605. So I could go all day creating the other terms in this sequence, but I don't need to do that. I just need 5 of them. So once again, in the same fashion, looking for my 3rd term here, I multiply the preceding term by a value of 3, which gives me 9A. I'm going to do this again over there, 9 times 3, 27A, and once again to get 81A. Now here it says that the sum of these terms, indicating addition, is going to be equal to 605. So adding all of these up, I'm going to be able to get a value of 121A. That's calculator work, guys. Do not do this stuff in your head. And it tells me that it's equal to 605. So I'm going to write in my 605. From here, pretty straightforward algebra. We need to solve for A, meaning that I need to divide both sides by 121. Sorry, it's coming through a little weird there. And I'm going to be able to find through division, calculator, that A is going to be equal to 5. So those of us that answered 5, give yourself a nice pat on the back. Well done. And that is the way around sequence questions. All right. Moving on to check out our next concept here, we're going to be working with triangle geometry. All right. A certain triangle has 2 angles that have the same measure. If the lengths of 2 of the sides of the triangle are 50 and 30, what's the least possible value for the perimeter of the triangle? I'm going to let you guys have at this one, and then I'm going to share a couple things with you. We'll work through it, and then we will see another triangle geometry problem immediately afterwards. Once again, no poll this time, but determine your answer, and I'll hop back on in about 30 seconds. About 10 more seconds, guys, and I'm going to jump in. Okay, so it tells us here that a certain triangle has two angles that have the same measure. All right, fair enough. So a certain triangle, let's draw that triangle. It says it has two angles with the same measure, so I'm just going to make these angles down here congruent. Now, some of us were probably aware that this indicates another congruency in the triangle. We're actually dealing with an isosceles triangle here, meaning that these sides are congruent. So heads up, guys, this is important. If they ever give you the base angle congruency of a triangle, and here they say two angles have the same measure, they're going to be asking you to use the sides of the triangle and the congruency of those sides to solve the problem. Now, the flip side of that coin is if they give you the side congruencies of a triangle, you're going to be using the angles to solve the problem. So they're always going to test you on that if you know that isosceles triangles have both congruent base angles and congruent sides in this case. So it says the lengths of two of the sides of the triangle are 50 and 30. And what's the least possible value? Well, it looks to me here like since we have two congruent sides, we're going to need to repeat one of these values, either the 50 or the 30. So it looks to me like we have kind of two scenarios here where we could either put the 30 on the bottom and the 50s on the sides, or I could put the 50 on the bottom and putting the 30 over here. Well, with the congruency, once again, I need to have a 30 over on this side. All right, great. So I have all my measures around the exterior of the triangle. Now I need to find the perimeter, which just means I need to add my sides. So in this case, 50, 50, and 30 on the left triangle is going to give me a value of 130 for the perimeter. Okay, not bad, but let's check the other one. 30, 30, and 50 added together is going to give me a value of 110. Now both of these are legitimate values for the perimeter of this triangle, but we're looking for the least value, indicating that our answer 110 is the correct one. All right, moving on to our next triangle problem here, guys. We're going to check this one out. I will let you have at it, but take a look here. It says that LN and LM are equal. Kind of looks like a triangle to me. That may indicate with those side congruencies what we need to use to solve the problem. All right, take a look. I'll be back in 30, 45 seconds to cover this one and move on to the next one. Good luck, guys. And once again, no poll on this because we don't have the answer choices. All right, about 10, 15 more seconds, then I'm going to jump in and we will solve this problem. All right, let's dive in and take a look. So it says that KN is perpendicular to JL. All right, great. I can see that there with the right angle. It says that LM is perpendicular to JL. All right, great. I can see that as well. It tells us that LN and LM are congruent, and it's asking for the measure of X, which we see over here in this smaller side triangle. Okay, so I kind of hinted at this, and hopefully I didn't give too much away, but I wanted you guys to have the right guidance because this is a challenging problem. We had some frustration with this. I get it. This is not easy, but if we can master this and understand it, we're going to be in good shape for the test coming up. Great. So we have this triangular shape here, and I'm actually going to do away with some of these. We have this triangular shape here, which should be indicating to us that since we know that these two sides are congruent, well, what can we determine? That's right, the base angles are congruent as well. So like I said, they're giving us the congruency of the sides. We need to use the angles to solve. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this 125 they gave to us and realize that this angle LMN, the other part of this sort of semicircle that I drew, is a supplement, meaning that that angle that we don't know in 125 add to 180 degrees. So in order to find the measure of this angle here, I can do 180 minus 125, and I can determine that the measure of that angle is 55 degrees. All right, good stuff. And just getting this out of our way here, I can make this equal to 55, and I can make this equal to 55 as well. Well, this is actually good news, and you can see how I used my base angle congruency there to determine what the measure of LNM is at 55. Well, hopefully we know, and if we don't, let's commit this to memory, that the angles in a triangle add to 180 degrees. So if I'm looking for the measure of this angle up here, NLM, I can use my other two angles to help me. So I know that the values of the other two angles together are equal to 110. So I just added the values there. Whoops. 55 plus 55. And I got a value of 110. Using my subtraction, 180, the total number of angles in a triangle, minus the two that I have, 110, allows me to determine that this has a measure of 70 degrees. All right. Now, once again, I'm going to be using that same supplement rule that I used for that 125 at the beginning of the problem, because I can tell here that this right angle, pictured down below, the 70 degrees I just solved for, and this little angle over there, KLN, are in a supplement. They're equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so great. I can say that that angle and subtracting the 90 and the 70 from 180, so 180 minus 90 minus 70, leaves me with a value of 20 degrees for this angle. So this angle right here is 20 degrees. Lots of busy work. Like I said, frustrating problem. We're almost there. Hang in there. Now we can see we have another triangle. We know two angles again. We know that there are 180 degrees in this triangle. So we can say that the 90-degree angle plus the 20-degree angle plus what we're looking for, x, on the cusp of solving, is equal to 180. Subtracting my 110, that's me combining the 90 and the 20 together, I can find that x is equal to 70. And I have a 70-degree angle sitting down there. All right, lots of work, guys, but definitely worth it. This is a challenging question. If you can get this problem right on a test, you are going to be answering a question that a lot of students are going to be failing on. Remember, we can always go back and look over this explanation in the recording that gets sent to you. From here on out, guys, we're going to talk about a couple strategic points that I want you to be aware of. The questions that we covered tonight, however, are very important questions. This stuff will likely be showing up on your test. Definitely check out the recording as well to go through that. But hang in there. We're going to talk about some strategy. Don't sign off just yet. So moving through these last couple of problems we weren't able to get to. Next steps, guys. The process obviously doesn't end here. We're going to be in a lot better shape to do well on this test, which is awesome. Good for you guys. But we have the SAT coming up after this. So what can you do? I mean, we got a lot of good stuff done today, but what are our next steps? I mean, you know, I'm not going to be jumping on with you every night. We've had a good time tonight. But we need to do some stuff on our own esteem. You can follow our checklist on methodtestprep.com. So why should you do this? Well, I mean, you're going to increase your score. That's the name of the game, right, guys? We have 15-minute tasks. If you do 4 tasks a week, that's just an hour of work a week, and you're going to increase your score. Simple as that. It just takes the commitment, which you can definitely put in. Your school probably already pays for this. Find out if they do. If you need to sign up separately, you can go to methodtestprep.com and do that. It's just $40 a month to get access to everything whenever you want it. You don't have to wait for me to sign on. You don't have to listen to me jabber at you this entire time. You can do it on your own esteem. Additionally, signing up for free PSAT classes. We still have one more class in PSAT week. It's on Thursday. You can sign up for times at 8 and 9 p.m. Remember, guys, even if you can't make the time, sign up. And if you can't make it, you're going to get a recording in your email. So you can watch it later. No reason not to do this. Tell your friends, make a little PSAT party if there is such a thing. Bottom line, jump on. It's going to be really helpful. You'll get a lot out of it, guys. We have other classes as well you can find at the link down there, methodtestprep.com/webinars, and this free 60-minute SAT and ACT prep class. Additional to this, we have a class that's starting on the 16th of October. You can get that at methodtestprep.com/SAT-intro. Once again, I mean, we're going over the same stuff here, but I want you guys to know the value of this product. You're going to increase your score. It's going to be great. You're going to get a lot of stuff done. So check it out on the Method Test Prep site. 10 hours of instruction for only $200. You're not going to find a deal like that anywhere else. I know you saw value in what we did tonight, and you're going to get a lot more of that in this class. All right. Last thing, guys, and then I'm going to let you go. We can try one of our recordings. You're going to get one tonight. Now, for those of you that thought that maybe we didn't move quickly enough, I know you couldn't ask questions, but obviously we had to tailor this to a very large number of students. But maybe you wanted a little something more from this class. I got the ticket for you. You can sign up for our Advanced Math Mini Class. It's normally $35, but since you jumped on tonight, if you put in the promo code HARDMATH, and you can see the link above there, if you put in the promo code HARDMATH, you can get it for $10. This expires tomorrow, so make sure to jump on and get this in there. Like I said, I'm sure you got a lot of information tonight, but for those of you, and this is valuable to all of you, for those of you that want a little bit extra, jump on and check this thing out. It's a 90-minute class, and you just get the recording. You can watch it at your own convenience. So anyway, get some experience, do the work, put it in. Thanks for joining us tonight. I definitely had a good time, and I think we got through some good stuff, so hopefully you learned a lot. Once again, thanks for hopping on, and good luck on the test this week. Thanks, guys.